The Diet D'Angelo Wallace of VeridisJoe made a terrible video desperately trying to defend blackwashing, where he spends most of his time stumbling on his own fucking arguments. For example,
first off, one was created positively, as you can see from the quality of the edit, while the other was created in retaliation of the other. Now you might say, why does that even matter? Well, here's a comparison. There's this teeny little organization, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called Black Lives Matter. And then there's All Lives Matter. People who say ALM opposed to BLM or supporting a movement that was made in retaliation of a movement made for the support and giving of voices to black people. A movement solely made for us to be treated as equal. Both still movements at their core, but one movement is in retaliation of the other.
The point that you thought you were making here is not the actual point you're making. You're trying to draw the comparison to something you don't want to draw a comparison to, because it's going to open up a whole can of worms. You're not really answering why, or giving any reasoning as to why All Lives Matter came into existence. Instead, you're kind of leaving it blank and simply implying that it's some racist agenda retaliating against Black Lives Matter. Couldn't be that Black Lives Matter continuously uses criminals as its martyrs, which does not give a good look for the black community. Or could it be the millions of dollars in damages from the rioting and the destruction of small businesses and private property? Or maybe it's something to do with the fact that the organization has received millions of dollars, and yet none of that money has went back into black communities. The money's been donated to politicians that don't have their interests or intend on helping any of them. And the people who founded the organization are suddenly extremely wealthy and living in mansions.
To simplify things, say we're on a playground, right? We're also kids, we're not weirdos. And so there's a kid who falls down and he breaks his leg. And so then he's asking everybody, somebody call help, my fucking leg's broken, oh my God. And then there's another kid who's on the playground who's not hurt, who's like, well, what about my leg? Diverging the attention from the root problem, the kid with the broken leg. Also in the scenario, the kid with the not broken leg talking about what about his leg is really popular. He's really popular, he's always been popular for like forever. And the one time when an issue or a subject is not about him, he's trying to make it about himself. Do you see how that's fucked? If you don't get that, I think this video isn't for you. I really don't want to follow on deaf ears. You probably should go like right now. All right, now let's bring it back. I talked about this before conveniently in the video right before this one, but black edits exist primarily because of the lack of representation of black animated characters in animated media. And if you say, we got plenty of representation, Stop the cap. Most of the mainstream anime that are out and talked about right now don't feature accurate black representation or black representation at all.
You see, first he says that there's a lack of black representation in animated media, and specifically states that there's no black representation in mainstream anime. And where exactly is that from? Oh, that's right, Japan, the homogenous society that doesn't even have 1% of a black population in it. Hear me out on this. This is going to be crazy. This is going to be really absurd. It's almost like anime's target audience is its country's own fucking people. I know, crazy, such a revelation.
And trust me, we're thankful for what we're getting right now, but that's now. For decades, we were getting this or nothing. Side note, I don't ever think that Killer Bee's a racist caricature. I think he's cool as fuck, and that's my nigga right there. Some people just don't get it. He's just icy, all right? He's icy. That nigga threw them hands on Sasuke. But because of this lack of characters in our race, we had to latch on to characters that weren't even representative of our own race. Therefore, over the years, we made headcanons and AUs of these characters where they are black. Notice I said the headcanon and AU. Contrary to popular belief, we don't actually believe these characters are black. I know Piccolo's a fucking Namekian. Everyone knows Piccolo's a Namekian. We just like to think, what if? I mean, I know you ain't, but like, what are these, bro? These are do-rags. Gohan and Piccolo is women. You cannot tell me otherwise. Shit, headcanoning shouldn't even be that much of a problem. I've seen people do a lot more outside of race. Some niggas headcanon characters into completely new, different characters. I'm calling y'all out. Y'all motherfuckers will headcanon a character that's nothing like you and then make that nigga just like you, which changes their character entirely. Don't worry, it's okay though. I just know. Remember that one bigot dickhead cop from Detroit Become Human? Niggas made him a partner of the new Connor and also like a tsundere love interest. This is a bigot. This is a robo-racist who probably is homophobic. What were y'all doing? Anyways, people love calling this blackwashing, but that's not a thing, like, at all. It does not exist.
He says it doesn't exist, and yet, when I Google the character and I find the exact same manga panel, the original version, in fact, of the manga panel that he showed on screen, surprise, surprise, but there's a bit of a fucking difference. The concept of whitewashing is to take a non-white character and change them to be white. Apparently it's taboo and racist. The concept of blackwashing is to take a non-black character and change them to be black. The very thing we're looking at. You have to be really, really fucking retarded to show something on screen and then say, oh, it doesn't exist. That's right, guys, the video you're watching right now doesn't exist.
First off, again, this is just an example of someone making something in retaliation of something else. Blackwashing? That doesn't even sound right. It was obviously derived from the term whitewashing, which, if you did know, is the changing of a character's race from something ethnic and flavorless to white. And that's just not good for nobody. And obviously now the meaning has been updated to accommodate for the coloring of a darker skinned character lighter than what they're supposed to be, which is also not good for nobody. I got a confession, y'all niggas say I never missed any harder than this video. This video is almost 2-3 years old, but if I did miss the point more harder, I wouldn't know what this was. Obviously you can tell from the thumbnail I was saying that nobody was whitewashing Nessa, which is wrong. That's not right at all. People were drawing her light as fuck for no reason. And I completely missed the point about the erasure of dark skin representation and how that's no good for nobody. Live and learn. Sometimes you have good friends that teach you. Love you, Thuman. Now, some of you probably think you got me in a little gotcha moment. Oh, you know, you call my ass red-handed, caught in 4K. You didn't. Settle down. You're predictable? And I know what you're finna say. Well, white characters are getting recasted as non-white people more and more these days. And you'd probably call a black person playing a role originally casted as a white person blackwashing, as you would for these edits. Well, the difference between a black person playing a role originally a white person did and a white person playing a role originally a black person did is reasoning and erasure. No matter how many originally white roles taken by non-black people happen, they're still going to be the dominant party in representation and in real life.
It's almost like there's more white people than black people.
Like they have been for centuries. But if you take the role from a black person or from another person of color, you are comparatively taking what little representation we have in the first place. And when it comes for reasoning, you have to think, is there a reason why this character is white in the first place? Probably not. They're just white. The story has nothing to do with them being white. But most of the time, black roles are made for black people to tell black stories or to tell stories that black people need to be in.
So if the character is white, it doesn't matter if you change them because they're just white and their race doesn't matter. But if the character is black, their race matters and it's important to the story. It's quite a double standard there. Give me one reason as to how Miles Morales in his story is a black story without stereotyping black people.
Whenever a black edit is made and posted, in a replies, I see this infamous and, not gonna lie, kind of funny picture of a white Black Panther. And this image essentially is the whole "but what if the roles were reversed" card, and essentially is a physical representation of niggas missing the point. If you want them reversed so bad, how about you go through 200 years of slavery, decades of segregation, years of systematic oppression, gentrification, and mass incarceration and imprisonment. If not, shut the fuck up talking to me. Otherwise, the roles cannot be reversed. And if your rebuttal is get over slavery, everything's not about race. No, everything is about race, and everything will always be about race. Shut the fuck up talking to me. Shut up. Lower your tone like shit.
One, no, not everything is about race, but you proudly professing that is pretty telling. Again, progressives are not good at hiding their racism whatsoever. We should not be surprised at the slightest here. A little weird to tell everyone else to lower their tone when your history is limited to 400 years of wrongdoings to black people and not any other group, or the fact that racism and slavery has affected literally every group at some point. Third, using bad things that happened in the past doesn't justify your wrongdoings and hypocrisy now. For example, if someone steals from me and I say, hey, that's wrong, and then I go and steal from someone else, and they say, I thought you didn't like stealing, weren't you against it? And then I say, oh, well, someone stole from me in the past. That isn't a justification for me doing it now.
Black Panther is a character made for black people that has cultural significance. Do white people have like a cultural superhero? If you say Captain America, I'm teleporting to your house and knocking the piss out you. Thing is, people bring up the counter argument, well, why don't you make your own characters instead of changing the race of existing ones? And to clarify, number one, again, we aren't changing the races of these characters. These are headcanons and AUs. Well, white characters are getting recasted as non-white people more and more these days. And you'd probably call a black person playing a role originally casted as a white person blackwashing, as you would for these edits. Well, the difference between a black person playing a role originally a white person did and a white person playing a role originally a black person did is reasoning and erasure.
Alright, this is going to be a lengthy tangent, but it'll equip you with something and help you be on the lookout for this in politics. One of the earliest things he said in the video was that these people don't actually believe that they're changing the races of these characters. It's just headcanons and AUs. Then he shows us a blackwashed Naruto character while denying blackwashing's existence. It doesn't exist, not a real thing, but somehow he can show it to us. And then he started talking about how black actors and actresses are playing the roles of white characters, and these characters are being changed to black. And then he just denied that happening, that they're not changing the race of these characters, it's just headcanons and AUs. This kind of cognitive dissonance and flat-out denial is rampant among identity politics. For example, anti-racist far-leftist progressives like Hassan and Vosh, those kinds of people. They're often very racist towards white people and have no issue with racism towards white people, and many of them will deny their racism based off of this ridiculous redefining that you can't be racist towards white people, only prejudice, which in and of itself is racist. You can catch them in doing something, you can point it out, they can admit to it, and they'll just deny it.
And number two, that's valid. I mean, if not for the fact that you can do both of those things at the same time, well, it's not hurting anyone, because these edits hurt literally no one. It isn't like these characters are being officially recast or retconned as black ones.
You shut the fuck up.
Also,
you shut the fuck up.
Get you a little bit.
You shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up.
They're just edits, and they're not bad ones either. The counters are usually crude, bad looking, crusty, ugly, and that's because the messages behind these two are very different. One's clearly positive and with love, while the other is within malice, or it comes off as combative and misses the point.
Yeah, but these edits, and you thought you ate, give me that fucking plate. It's also funny someone made a Nagatoro edit like this, but like, she's not black. We do not claim y'all tan line light skins. Please stay away.
Now I can lie to you and say that I got bored of doing the green screen thing, or I can say my internet has been out for about a month and I've been staying and recording at a friend's house. Either way, I guess we'll be back after these messages. Follow my Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to Don Bad Boys, the group channel that me and my friends are a part of. It's cool and swag.
Another problem you'll hear people bring up is the whole fixing terminology. What I'm referring to is when some people will do one of these edits or drawings, they refer to it as fixing it. And I ain't gonna cap, this is flawed on both sides. On one side, you have some people actually seeing this as fixed or but better, which obviously pushes the narrative that that is what everyone thinks. And on the other, you have people assuming that everyone who makes these edits carries that same mindset, which is assuming that every black person is trying to quote unquote fix these existing characters by turning them black. And yeah, no. If you're a part of the minority that unironically thinks this, while putting down their often not white race, that's not right. But assuming everyone else is carrying this mindset too is also wrong. Like I said, people don't think they're changing their race, they're making their own headcanons. And while that does not cover the small minority we don't claim, it does give the other side another thing to use against us as a whole. And fixing art, oh my god. Obviously, the whole fixing thing is just never good to do at all. Through the whole whitewashing Nessa situation,
I'm gonna try to wrap my head around this logic. If people edit characters to be black, it's not blackwashing because they're not actually canonically changing the races of these characters. Pushing that aside for a second. But if they edit or draw Nessa white, it's whitewashing, even though it's not canonically changing her race. This isn't blackwashing, because it's not canonically changing her race. But this is whitewashing, even though it's not canonically changing her race. That doesn't make any fucking sense. I made this video to promote another video. Me and Alex the Critic, you might have seen him on the channel before or in the comments. We made a collaboration talking about this same video. More like I made him make it a collaboration and then we scripted it together, and it was fun. It was fun scripting. The video turned out really good. There's a lot of stuff that this video does not cover or even talk about or even remotely scratch that video goes over. It's really in-depth. It is a little lengthier than this one, but I think you guys will like it. I thought about talking about Thuman's video because Thuman made a video on this topic first about blackwashing, and then Joey stole her talking points and parroted them, and then Omnia stole those talking points and parroted them. That's because they're all friends. Thuman and Omnia's are fucking ass. They're literally just the same as Joey's video. Same talking points, same, oh well, bad shit happened to black people in the past, so we can be hypocrites. No. The Three Musketeers of blackwashing.
people love calling this blackwashing, but that's not a thing, like, at all. It does not exist. It does not exist.